Hello everyone. So today we will discuss Mathematics Specimen Paper 1 for examination from 2020. Moving on to our very first questions, it's pretty simple. Write 17,017 in figures. And the question 2 says that find the number of minutes from 1758 to 7:13 p.m. The first thing I would do is to convert my 12-hour system to 24-hour system. In order to do that, you can just add 12 o'clock on your 7:13 p.m., which will give us 19:13 as our answers. The second thing you can do here is to minus off 19:13 with 17:58. Once you minus, remember when you move your 1 hour to the minute side, it will turn out to be 60 minutes. So 60 plus 13 minutes, you have 73 minutes minus with 58, and you will have 15 minutes left. 18 minus 17, you have 1 hour. Now convert this 1 hour into minutes, you get the total minutes, which is 75 minutes. For the third questions, it says the number of cars parked in a car park at 9 a.m. is recorded for 10 days. And that they have given us for a few numbers here. Check the indicated key numbers that they have given us. In this case, our 12 represents is 110th place. So automatically, if you insert 7, it will turn out to be 107 in this case. So you can key in the numbers in your stem and leaf diagram as follows. Now, moving on to the other questions. Question 4a, it says write 6,789 correct to the nearest 100. So that would give us 6,800. Next question, 6,789. We have to write it correct to three significant figures, which is 6,790. The next questions, which is a cuboid that measures 6 cm by 3 cm and by 2 cm. On this 1 cm square grid, draw a net of the cuboid, where it represents the ratio of 1 to 1, meaning your 1 cm will always be represented by one single line of the box here. So I have drawn 3D shapes and also a net side by side. You can actually refer to this if you really need help on this part. So next, we are moving on to the next questions, which is question 6. Question 6 says, write down the order of rotational symmetry of the shape. I always assume one of the points to be my pivot. In this case, I take the indicated point to be my pivot. So now, if you imagine that if this diagram were to rotate clockwise or anti-clockwise, it would come to exactly at its place 3 times consecutively. So that's why our rotational symmetry of order of this shape is simply 3. Now, the next question says to draw all the lines of symmetry on the shape. So we have 3 lines of symmetry for this shape, as you can see here. 7a, write down a fraction which is equivalent to 3 or 5. In this case, I simply write 30 over 50 because in the end, when you divide these fractions by 10, it will turn out to be 3 over 5. 7b, write down the reciprocal of 7. Whenever a question asks you to write a reciprocal of any number, divide it by 1, and that will give you its reciprocal. In this case, I divide 1 by 7 to give me 1 over 7. Question 8 says that a cube has a volume of 1000 cm cube, and they ask us to calculate the surface area of the cube. I have drawn a small diagram here that represents a cube, and to find a volume of cube, we usually do is length times height times width. So that means x times x times x. That is our volume, which is x cubed. So if our volume were to be x cubed in this case, which is 1000 cm cubed, find your x, one of your x. To find your x value, you just have to simply cube root your 1000 and you get your answer as 10. But that is not the final answer, as the questions ask us to calculate surface area. To calculate the surface area, we have to times our base with that width. So that is how we are doing x times x, that gives us 10 times 10. But bear in mind, cube has 6 sides, so you have to, afterwards, you have to multiply it by 6 and to give us our final answer, which is 600 cm squared. Question 9. Dan either walks or cycles to school. The probability that he cycles to school is 1 over 5. Write down the probability that Dan walks to school. You have to take 1 and minus the probability that they have given. In this case, 1 minus 1 over 5, which is 4 over 5 as our answer. The next question, 9b, there are 200 days in a school year. Work out the expected number of days that Dan cycles to school in a school year. It is simply to take the probability that he cycles to school, which is 1 over 5, times with the number of days that he will go to school, which is 200. And it will give you 40 days of him cycling to school during school year. Next question, it says, using a ruler and a pair of compasses only, construct a triangle with sides 5 cm, 8 cm, and 10 cm, and leave in your constructions arc. I put 10 cm on the left side, 5 cm on the right, and 8 cm to be the bottom. You can choose to do anything however you like to your diagram. Your answers will be still correct as long as your arcs and your length and centimeters are correct. Moving on to the question 11. Here is a list of numbers. Put a ring around the number with the largest value. If these kinds of questions comes out, it is always recommended for you to change your fraction to decimal so that you can see the differences between the other numbers. In this case, convert 1 over 3 to decimals will give you 0.333. And then 3 over 10 simply gives you 0.3. 33%, that just gives you 0.33. And now if we were to look, the largest value that we will have here is your 1 over 3, and simply circle that. Moving on to the next questions, question 12 says, complete these statements. 6 meter is the same length as what? So to know the answers of these kind of questions, you have to know the basics of the conversion. So I have written down a few on the right hand side for you to look at. For example, we will have 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter, 1 centimeter is 10 millimeter. Therefore, I can say 1 meter will be 100 times with the 10 to give me to go to that millimeter, which is, therefore, 1 meter is equal to 1000 millimeter. And your final answer has to be 6. Since it talked about 6 meter, is therefore our answer is 6000 millimeter. To the next question, we have the question says 7000 cm square is the same area as what meter square? I know what my 1 meter gives me 100 centimeter. 1 meter square gives me 100 times with 100 cm square. And therefore my 1 meter square will be 10,000 cm square. So to find your 7,000 cm square to convert it to meter square, you just simply have to do 7,000 divided with 10,000, and that will give you your answer at 0.7 meter square. Next questions. A, B, C, D, E is a pentagon. Explain why the diagram shows that the sum of the interior angles of a pentagon is 540. Do not measure any angles. The answers to these questions is simply the interior angles of a triangle sums up to 180 degrees. Since there are 3 triangles, hence 3 times 180 will give you 540 degrees. Question 14, simplify this. So my x and x, the bases are same and the relationship between them is multiply. I just have to plus the power. So x 3 plus 5 times y 4 plus 3, that will give you x to the power of 8 times with y to the power of 7. Write 2020 in standard form. It's simply 2.02 times 10 to the power of 3. Next question. Kim shows that one angle of an isosceles triangle is 48 degrees. He says that one of the other angle must be 66 degrees. Explain why Kim is wrong. We have two 66 degrees to be exact, similar, while 48 is different. While on the other case, it could also be that the 48 degrees of these two angles are similar and 84 is the only different angle here. That is why I say one of the other angles could also be 84 degrees if the two equal angles were to be 48. Therefore, Kim could be wrong. Moving on to the next questions, explain why square root 3 is irrational number. Because it cannot be written as a fraction. Question 18. The mass and kilograms of a horse is 429 kilograms. Correct to the nearest kilogram. Complete this statement about the value of m. Since they asked to convert it to nearest kilogram, the rounding value will be 1 kg divided by 2. So the rounding value will be 0.5 kg. So m is greater or is equal to as 429 minus with 0.5, that gives you 428.5. M is lesser than 429.5. Question 19. Rearrange the formula 5w minus 3y plus 7 is equal to 0 to make w the subject. Simply move your 5w on the left hand side and the others on the right hand side and make your w the subject of this equation. But my w that I have gotten here is minus 7 plus 3y over 5, but I always prefer to put my answers as positive value in the end. Therefore, I made a slight change to my equation. I moved 3y to the left hand side and my minus 7 to the right hand side. That gives you 3y minus 7 over 5. That is the positive final answer. Question 20. Use step notation to describe the shaded region in each Venn diagram. I'm really sorry here. The pictures here doesn't show the shaded region. I don't know. I have scanned these pages, but it could be an error. I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused. And so the answers for 20A is simply A, and to 20B is A union B. Question 21. The radius of a sphere is 5.2 centimeter. Work out the surface area of this sphere. The surface area of a sphere with radius r is given by 4 pi r squared. So the surface area will simply be 4 pi times with 5.2 squared. Your answer when you round off must be 340 cm squared. Question 22. Triangle ABC is similar to triangle PQR. Divide the largest angle to the smallest angle of the same side. So your capital B divided by small b is equal to capital A divided by A. So therefore in this case we have PQ over 5.2 is equal to 21.7 divided by 12.4. So we will have our PQ as 9.1 centimeters. Question 23. 120 children go to the park, 50 play tennis, 75 play golf, 25 do not play tennis or golf. To solve this kind of questions, what I always do is let those children who play both tennis and golf be my x value. And it is an unknown. I don't know how many students play both the tennis and golf, so I'll just set it as x. Step 2 is to find out the x using the total value that they have given us. In this case, x, the total numbers of the student will be x plus 50 minus x, which is the students who play tennis only, plus with 75 minus x, this is for those who play golf only, and plus with 25. And this must give me a sum of 120. Using this equation, you can find your x as 30. Now just simply substitute your x to the others to find your those who play tennis or those who play golf. So in this case, 50 minus x for those who play tennis, and then 75 minus x for those who play golf, and you will get your final answers. 23b, it says find number of t intersect g. It is simply 30. 24a, factorize completely 18x minus 24. I noticed that the multiple of 18 and 24 is simply 6. So just extract 6 out from among them and you get your final answer. 24b, simplify w5 and to the power of 4 there. If you encounter this kind of questions where they have a power number with a open and close bracket and another power, the key to solve these questions is to always times those two powers together. So 5 times 4, that gives you w to the power of 20 as our final answer. Question 25. Without using a calculator, work out 1/7 of 12 plus 13 over 20. And we have to give our answer as mixed number in its simplest form. The step 1 here, the step 1 that I have written here is a bit error. It is not convert to mixed fraction first, but it was supposed to be converted to improper fraction first, like how I did here. Convert your mixed fraction to improper fraction as follows, and you will get 19 over 12. And the second step is to always make the denominator same. In this case, I times my 19 over 12 by 5 and 13 over 20 by 3 to get my same denominator of 60. And add them up, you get 16 over 30, and the final and the last step must be convert back to mixed fraction because the question specifically wants the answer in mixed fraction. So my final answer is 2/7 over 30. Question 26. By rounding each number correct to one significant figure, estimate the value of square root 90,006 over 10.01 squared. You must show all your working here. So here is the working that I have shown as follow, and you must get your final answer as 30. Question 27a, the nth term of a sequence is n cubed minus 5. So write down the first three terms of this sequence. For this kind of question, simply just key in your calculator the value for the first term, second term, and third term, and you will get your answer. 27b, here is a sequence of numbers 3, 6, 11, 18, 27. And I notice that this is a quadratic sequence. The quadratic equations a n squared plus bn plus c. Refer to the working that I have solved here and you should get your final answer as n squared plus 2. The last questions that we have for today is OAB is a sector of a circle with radius 9 cm and center O. The angle at O is 30 degrees. Calculate the area of this sector and give your answer in terms of pi. The formula for area of a sector is theta over 360 times pi r squared, where theta is the angle that the questions have given you. So in this case, 30 over 360 times pi times 9 squared, and you should get 27 over 4 pi if you insert it to your calculator. But I would prefer to put it in decimal, so I would write 6.75 pi as my final answer. That's all for this video. Thank you very much.